How you doing, folks? Well, it is time to fit the brakes to this 1974 1303S behind me. Okay, so as you can see, I spared you the bother of having to watch me jacking up the car and taking the wheels off and all that. Basically, I just wanted to give myself better access by taking the wheels off, because literally we have to go right from the front calipers to the master cylinder via a servo. Now, a 1303 Beetle does not normally have a servo. In actual fact, there was never a servo fitted to a 1303. So I'm going to be fitting a remote dual servo, and I'm going to show you that now in a minute. But before I do that, I have a set of Goodrich braided hoses that I want to fit as well. I've already got the ones fitted on the back. I actually fitted the ones on the back while the body was off the chassis, and they're now wrapped in masking tape, so I'll have to take that masking tape off. But rest assured, they're there anyway. So that's that part of the job done, but the front ones are a different situation. Now here's the front ones, and kind of annoyingly with these, what actually happens is they go from a female to a male. Now the normal brake hoses don't do that, they go from a female to a female. So I have to get an adapter to put on this end of the pipe. That's alright, I actually bought a couple of adapters, so that's that job done. The other annoyance is the fact that you can see this one here has a jam nut on it. Now I left these in the care of the guy doing the body work for me, and as is standard operating procedure, the jam nut for that one is missing, so hopefully it'll turn up at some point or another. But for the moment, I'll just use the cable tie to keep it in place there, and I'll make a note in my notebook about the car that I need to remedy that situation. I do keep kind of notes on my findings as I go, so at least I don't forget to do something at a later stage. These are the horseshoe clips that are going to keep one end of the brake hose in place. So let's get this one fitted to this side. Kind of annoyingly, I forgot my tripod. It's in the van, which is in the storage unit I use, where the MG is as well, incidentally, which is not here. So I'm going to have to make do. The DJI Pocket 2 that I'm using actually comes with a little kind of tripod thing, which is kind of handy, but it's sitting on the ground beside me rather than being up beside the job that's been done. So anyway, the jam nut goes here, actually locks the brake line in place on the tab on the inner wing, which is nice. And I'm going to put the blank back in that to stop ingress of dirt. A little blank goes in there. There we go. And then this goes around here to this point here. Now, remember I was saying the situation with the kind of male to male? I need to get an adapter, so that goes between the two. Now what I've also done as well is I loosened off the brake line here so that I can could clean it, and I've cleaned up the treads and the flange as well there, so that will or the flare, not the flange, that will allow for a good seal. So yeah, I'll be able to put that on now. Those brake lines are fine between this point here and the caliper. I mean, the brake lines weren't replaced that long ago in this car. Okay, so that's basically it. It's female to female straight union, and all we do is just take that off and put this on and realise that they're the wrong threads. Oh, they're not. And there's the thing, I must do the lotto tonight. Okay, so there we go, so that's that. And then we can bring our brake pipe around and attach it there, and then put our little horseshoe clip in place to keep it in place, and that's basically the job done on this side. And that is step one of about 127 steps to get the brakes fitted to this car. So I'm just loosening the union to allow that to pivot there. Suburban life, folks. Child next door singing away there. It's not my child. Okay, right, so that's in position there. Now, I'm not really happy with the way that's sitting up against the track control arm there, or the track rod. So what I may need to do is, when the weight of the car is on, I may need to loop that underneath. I'm not really sure, but we can have a bit of a play with that afterwards anyway. It's not really a big deal to put right, but either way, you don't want it rubbing on something, because when you rub, that's when you have problems. Okay, I'm just going to tighten this up now. So what you can do is you can use that to put a twist in the pipe just to get it up away from the away from the track rod there. So that's what I think we'll do here. And now there is an 11mm union here. I think they might actually be 7/16, but my imperial spanner set isn't here, so I will go with metric and it'll be fine. Trust me, folks. Because that'll be 7/16, then that'll be half, which is actually a 13mm. Well, a 13mm fits. So it makes sense in my head anyway. So that's that. Now the horseshoe clip goes on here. Same on the other side, and then that's basically step one complete. You don't need to watch me doing that side too. Okay, so hopefully the jam nut materializes at some stage for that. If not, I'll maybe use a Jubilee clip or something like that just to keep it in place. The outer threads are literally just for the jam nut. The inner threads are where the pipe actually goes into, so it should be all right. And as I said, I'll figure out those horseshoes in a little while. But the next job on my list is to fit the master cylinder, and that's a great that's great fun altogether. So I'm really looking forward to that. To tell you the truth, this whole job of doing the brakes is a pain in the ass, but look, it has to be done. So if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. So the master cylinder actually goes up in there. So yeah, it's on my back underneath the car, and then there is this pipe here which is for the rear brakes, but that is not going to be getting connected to the master cylinder, and the simple reason for that is because that will go to the servo. And this is said servo, so it is basically, it's a dual circuit system. So there's circuit A there, circuit B there. Okay, so it means that the dual circuit braking system of the car stays a dual circuit braking system. I didn't want to combine it into one for safety reasons, so it seemed to make good sense to me. Now there is a vacuum pipe that has to go onto this. Normally you get the vacuum from the engine, but in this instance I'm going to use a vacuum pump because I don't want to have to run a vacuum line from the engine. It's too much of a faff. There's no provision for it on the manifolds or anything anyway, so I have an electric vacuum pump to fit. So that will come on with the fuel pump. I'll relay the two of them out, so I'll use like a 30 amp relay, and when the fuel pump comes on, the vacuum pump will come on at the same time. So this is the master cylinder, complete with the push rod. It's supposed to stay on the pedal, but I wasn't the one who removed it, so it wasn't done properly. That was the way with this situation. So yeah, there is the that's where the brake fluid goes in, and that's where the brake fluid comes out. So you have two of these. This is for the front circuit, so that's basically how that works. But I'm not going to be using this pipe again. So what happens is this pipe goes to one circuit of the servo, this pipe goes to the other circuit of the servo, and then from the servo then gets distributed to the front and back wheels. So that is basically how you get your boosting. So yeah, anyway, that's next thing to do is unwrap this, clean it all out, blow it out with a blowgun, and fit it basically, and then we'll fit the reservoir after that. The brake master cylinder is full of crap, so I'm actually going to take it apart and clean it out properly, because it's just not going to work the way it is. So and now I'm not going to be changing any seals or anything like that. The seals should be fine. I actually didn't, it wasn't that long ago since I changed the seals. And you see that? That's the way that's supposed to come off. Okay, so what we'll do is I'll actually be fitting that to the brake pedal before we put the master cylinder in. But next thing we need to do is we need to take out the, there's a clip in there. So take out that clip, and then the internal gubbins for the actual master cylinder will all come out, and we'll be able to inspect it and clean it and make sure that it's all serviceable. I'm ready to go back in, because there's one part of the car you really do not want to fail, because, well, if I have to explain it to you, you shouldn't be doing work on the brakes, let's just say. So I'm going to just use a screwdriver just to wang this out, and keep your thumb over just to make sure it doesn't go pinging across the garage. There we go. Okay, so put that there, and spacer. See, straight away that's stuck in there, so now I need to try and get that out. So yeah, okay, let's get it set up in the vise. Okay, I actually just gave it a couple of sharp taps on the vise there, and then this came out. So this is the this is first of the two pistons, and then there's a spring, so we put them aside, and then there's another one. the other one has to come out as well. So we'll keep tapping that, and then this lad here will get a clean. It's not actually that bad, but it's dirty enough that I think what I'm doing makes sense. And yes, I should be wearing gloves and I'm not, so I'll put a pair of gloves on as well in a minute too. Okay, so there's piston number 2 after coming out. So the longer spring goes in first. Okay, so that's the master cylinder emptied out. Okay, so next thing to do is I'm going to blast some brake cleaner in there, clean it all out, clean off the pistons, pop them back in, and we'll call it a good one at that stage, because I don't need to go overboard with this. It should be good enough, but it definitely needed a little bit of a cleaning. So let's get that finished off. I'm just taking the brake pressure switch out here, just in case the brake cleaner is going to damage that, because there could be a rubber diaphragm in that or something, so we don't want it to be damaged. They're flimsy enough as it is. Alright. There you go, that's the dirt that's inside it there. So definitely a worthwhile exercise, folks. So I'm going to just literally try and get a cloth down inside. At least there doesn't seem to be any scoring or anything like that inside it. It all looks pretty decent in there, and the seals look to be intact as well. So as I said, it's probably just a case where I'm just getting here in the nick of time before there is actually a major problem. Okay, so I have everything cleaned now, and I recruited the help of my parts washer. So basically it's all fully cleaned out inside, rinsed and blown out and everything. So now let's reassemble it. So I have a little bit of brake fluid in the lid here of the bottle, and I'm going to just wet the seals. So that's grand. And just stand it up there for a second, because I want to just pour a little bit down inside the barrel of the cylinder itself. And now we just literally pop that in there and give it a little. Okay, so that's that one in. And then this one here goes down with the spring obviously on the inside here. These seals are a little finicky because they're kind of a flared seal, if you know what I mean. You can see what I mean there. They're sort of an umbrella shape, so they have the tendency to bend back on you when you're trying to fit them. Okay, I got them in by just basically feeding it around, or just running a screwdriver around the edge of the seal just to kind of push it in, just to get it into position. Now we need to put in our spacer washer and that spring clip that we took out earlier. Just easier said than done when the whole assembly is trying to push itself back out on you. There we go. So that's that seal. That's the master cylinder cleaned out and freshened up. So I'm happy with that now. So now I know I can fit that, and it should work. But we just have a little rubber seals here as well. So I'm just going to clean these up as well. First of all, there's actually paint on that one. So the rubber seals go in these ports here where the fluid actually goes in, and then you have two of these guys here. The other one's probably attached to the hose itself, and then we can fit that onto the pedal and install the brake master cylinder then at that stage. Okay, it's going to be a bit of a faff trying to get this master cylinder in, so I'm thinking what I might do is I might recruit some help, because if I can get my wife to feed the bolts in, I'll be able to get the master cylinder installed a hell of a lot quicker, because otherwise I'm trying to get this to stay in position while I get the bolts in, and there's nothing to actually keep it in position. So yeah, that sounds like probably a good idea. I don't expect you're going to be able to see a whole lot while I'm doing this, because I can't see a whole lot while I'm doing this. So all I know is I need to get the brake master cylinder in through there. Oh, Beetles are easy cars to work on. Oh, sure they are. Yeah, absolutely. If you're a contortionist, they're so easy to work on. I'm not a contortionist though. No. Right, so that is the master cylinder fed through the hole, and I'm going to just hook it onto the pedal inside the car now. Yeah, I'll bring it around, you can see. Okay, so there you go. So now I'm going to just try and hook the brake master cylinder on, and that pipe there, as you can see, is not going to be connected on there. I'll have a straight one of those straight unions I used, just joining up the pipework from the master cylinder back onto that, rather than running a whole new pipe down the length of the car. Okay, so let's get the master cylinder lined up. Try and get my arm in to hold it in place. Alright, hold on now. Okay, can you turn that bolt at all? Just, you'll have to push in against it as well. Is it still coming out, or?
No, that's it.
Alright, okay, so if you want to... Yeah, if you want to do that, yeah. There's 2 layers of metal it has to go through, so if you have to kind of get it in fairly straight. Now you need to go down in the second layer. I just saw it above. Do you want me to try and get it?
You see that? If I do it like that, can you see that there?
No. There you go. You're nearly there. Nearly there. There you go.
Okay.
Right now. Okay, so just turn that now and see if you can get it in. Alright, okay, so I think that's pretty I left the impact going on the floor there for you if you want to try and buzz them in a bit. Great, okay, so okay, just do the top one there now. Great, okay, that's brilliant, thanks very much. Alright, so that, yeah, that's a great help, thanks. That would have been an awful faff on my own. Okay, so what I'll do now is I'll just line up those washers so the cutouts on them are lined up, and yeah, that's basically it. Thanks for that. In case you're wondering what I was talking about with the cutouts and the washers, I have large penny washers underneath the bolt heads, because what happened to me before was that bolt disappeared inside that frame, the head of it, and I could not get it out. It was an absolute nightmare. So now the rod is back on. So the next thing to do is to bring this spring around and hook it onto that little spot there, and that pulls the pedal back out of the master cylinder, and it also keeps the rod in place. Now, there we go. So there's that same car that goes through the estate every day at this several times actually, and I don't know, he's got some mad camshaft in it, but it won't idle. It literally idles about 1500 RPM and just goes bam, 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 bam. It sounds crap, to be honest with you. I'd say it's a very quick car, but it sounds crap. Alright, so that is the master cylinder in place, thanks to the help of my good lady wife. Definitely a 2-person job, because trying to get those bolts lined up on your own is just a faff. So yeah, that's done. So the next thing to do now is I'm going to put the reservoir in, and then we can look at the master cylinder. Sorry, not the master cylinder, the brake servo. Okay, so the reservoir goes over on the right hand side of the, left side of the car, over here on this little shelf. And the pipes go down through a kind of a channel and underneath the car and over to the master cylinder. So yeah, a bit of fiddling around involved in putting that in, but not the most difficult job in the world. Of course I say that and now it's going to be, but sure, anyway. Of course I'm missing the bloody master cylinder reservoir. Of course I am. Right. Okay then, so well, I won't be fitting the reservoir then, so because I haven't got it. What I have got is I've got the pipes to go to it, so I can at least put them in. But bloody hell, why can't things just go straight forward? I got half of the pipes routed from the reservoir to the master cylinder, because without the reservoir in place, you can't really do it. Like, I mean, you could, but the likelihood is I'll end up having to take them out again to get the reservoir in. So yeah, I'm going to just leave them be for the moment. I'll have to get a new reservoir. Thank you again for that, by the way, Mr. Bodywork guy. You once again screwed me. So yeah. Let's just be thankful he's not working on airplanes. Okay, so the fiddly part of all of this is actually going to be installing the brake servo. So you've seen the brake servo. Now this is the bracket that actually came with it to install it onto the car. But because of the fact that there's no kind of straight areas to install it, like, you know, there's not like a nice flat space where it will neatly fit. Where I'm going to actually put it is down on the inner wing here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount the bracket like that, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make spacers to take up the distance of the hole from the holes of this to the bodywork, the holes I'm going to drill in the bodywork. Then I'm going to use long bolts to pass through them, and then just the bolts can go through the spacers, and then that will hold it nicely in place there. And it's relatively out of the way. I mean, it was always going to take up a bit of space under the engine lid, but not the engine lid, the boot, bonnet, boot, whatever the hell, a frunk, I think you call them in America. Anyway, yeah, so that's basically the plan here. So first things first, I'm going to take a few measurements, and I'm going to figure out where to I'm going to make up some spacers. I need to find a bit of tube or something like that to use to make the spacers. Okay, so the idea of the spacers went out the window because I thought, no, it's not the right way of doing it. So I modified the bracket a little bit. So I have these standoffs on it here now. Not the tidiest welding job in the world, but they will be functional, and I'll show you now. It will fit absolutely fine. So I've made a mark down here, so you should be able to see. And basically that will sit neatly there, and yeah, I'll have to put a couple of washers underneath that one there just to space it out a little bit. But those ones there, what I can do is a couple of holes drilled, bolts through from the other side, a couple of nuts, job's a good one. So I think that'll work, and then we'll be able to bolt on our servo and start running the pipes to it. And there we go, the bracket is now painted and installed. So literally it's now just a case of installing the brake servo there. It will sit in a bit further than that because the bolts aren't removed yet, but that's basically the gist of it. Takes up a bit of space under the boot, but you know, look at it, for the benefits it will bring, it'll be worth it. The noise of those bloody seagulls. Right, let's take the bolts out and get this bolted into place. At least that way then, from that point forward, we have fixed points for all our brake lines to go to, which would be nice. You know what, I think that looks pretty neat in there actually, you know that? And the way I'm going to route the brake lines is I'm going to route them all back the way, so they're not going to be there's not going to be brake lines all over the place underneath here. So that'll be the next thing to do, is to actually run some brake lines. And another little annoyance I have to deal with as well is that Carter fuel pump I have down there, this lad here, has stopped working. It's pretty much new. I mean, I only had it in the car for a little while before I sent it in to get the bodywork done, and now it's not working for some reason or another. So I'll have to investigate that. It's kind of a sealed unit, so I'm not sure there's going to be anything I can do about it, and it'll be out of warranty now. Alright, let's make some brake lines. Okay, I'm getting there, folks. I have the brake lines going from the servo to the back of the car, and a lot of the front ones in there now as well, so definitely we're definitely making progress. Now the brake lines I still have to do is I have to do 2 from the master cylinder to the servo. So I'll just show you what I have so far. Now I know they don't look too tidy at the moment, but that's because I'm not finished. I will kind of try and straighten everything out and route it a little bit better, but you can see I have a hole down there. That's just a bit of wax around it, and I'm going to put a grommet in there. That's on. That's the one for the front brakes, and then this one over here is the one for the back brakes. So the one for the back brakes is actually going down underneath the car, up above the frame head, and is joining up over in here just beside the master cylinder. As I said, I didn't want to go and route a whole new brake line down to the back of the car because it was unnecessary, to be honest with you. So there's a joiner up there and it goes into the existing brake line that goes into the car. So that's all good. So that's the back brakes done. Literally all of the back brakes, aside from obviously from the master cylinder to the servo. So next thing I need to do, and oh by the way, before anybody says, I realised afterwards that these are actually supposed to go down, not up. Hence why so it goes like that, and that's why the brake line was fouling on the track rod. So anyway, yeah, I kind of copped it myself, so it's pretty straightforward. The other side is done. I just need to route a brake line from here over to, there's a T-piece over the other side. Now the T-piece would originally have been mounted here on this little bracket, if you can see it there. That's where the T-piece would originally have been, so it would have gone from master cylinder to the T-piece and across the other side of the car. But I've basically put the T-piece over the other side, so it goes from master cylinder, brake servo, T-piece, and then to either side of the brakes. It's pretty straightforward. I will be completely honest, it did actually take me quite a bit of time to get my head around how to flare brake lines. I've actually never really done it before. I did a couple, but never at this level. So yeah, a couple of YouTube videos definitely helped. So yeah, I was kind of watching YouTube myself, so yeah. I think I have the hang of it now. There is the bubble flare is the type that you'd want to be using on these rather than a double flare. So it's a little bit different. And what got me was the fact that there's you actually have to use the other side of the flaring tool, the one without the flare, to make the bubble flare. And one YouTube video didn't explain that, and then the second one I watched did, and then the penny dropped, and then I had it. All right, here's the brake pipe flaring tool. I'll just show you one example of me doing it, and then you get the gist. So this is a piece that is going to go from the T-piece on the left side of the car over to up to the flexi. So I have the 2 fittings on, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to catch it so that the exposed end is actually sticking out the side. Like if you look here, there's a flare on this side, and on this side there isn't a flare. So what I want is a bubble flare. So to make a bubble flare, you stick your brake pipe out there, the thickness of one of the shoulders of the little ferrule here. So that's fine. And tighten up our frame. And get that good and tight. Okay, so next thing we need to do is we put our ferrule inside, the little spud goes inside the pipe, and we get our A-frame, and this goes over the brake pipe, and you just tighten it up. Okay, so it's fully tight now, and let it off. Take the frame off, take the spud out, undo this, and what you're left with in this instance is an absolutely shit flare, so we're not going to be able to use that. That's the principle behind it. The practice is a little different, and as I said, it doesn't always go right first time, especially when you're not used to doing it. So I'll need a little bit more practice, but that's the gist of it. Okay, I've put in a good shift today, I think, to be honest with you, and I was never going to get this all finished in one go, but yeah, I'm happy with the progress so far. So yeah, just having a quick look here as a recap. There's the servo installed, bracket made and everything like that, it's bolted in. I've decided that's where I'm going to put the vacuum pump, so that's as I said, the vacuum pump is electric rather than having to run an engine vacuum, so that's going to sit there. Provisionally anyway. I may well decide to change my mind on that. Brake lines are run to the front and rear brakes, and all I have to do now is connect the master cylinder to the brake servo. So yeah, I mean, progress has been made, and yeah, probably another afternoon should see the bulk of it finished. And obviously I have to get a new brake fluid reservoir as well, because the one I had went missing. There was nothing wrong with it, it's just gone missing. So yeah, kind of annoying, but there you go. So look, let's leave it there, folks. Thanks very much for watching. Please don't forget to like and hit the subscribe button, and I'll keep you updated on my progress with the Beetle, the MG and the camper van, because I have another little trick up my sleeve with the camper van to try and sort out its running issues, and there are some running issues which definitely need to be sorted out. So yeah, I'll chat to you soon. Thanks for watching.